Good evening, Guardians, and welcome back to the latest episode of Short Pause Presents Tower Talk. I'm Ben. On the other end of the microphone there, that's Brent. You know who we are by now. We're here on behalf of Short Pause. www.shortpause.com is the website. You can follow us on Twitter at the Short Pause. Tower Talk is our Destiny-focused video discussion series, Brent, where you and I hop on here. We talk any and everything in the world of Destiny. We have a damn fine time doing it. If you like what we do here on Tower Talk, make sure you join us live, jump into the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys during the show. Like the video, subscribe to the channel so you always know when we go live, which is typically around 10 p.m. ish. The emphasis on the ish. Eastern on Thursday nights after the Bungie weekly update. So be on the lookout for us on the regular. Other than that, how are you, Brent?
I'm good, man. I'm kind of dragging ass a little bit today. The kids are both sick. We stayed up really late playing Iron Banner last night, and the week's starting to take its toll on me, buddy. But I'm here. I'm alive. It's snowing outside, and I'm excited to talk some Destiny 2. What's up, Jacob? Jacob's in the chat.
Hey, Jacob. Yeah, man. Pick your ass up, dude. Let's go. Yeah, it's snowing here in Michigan, so if you are not in the northeastern part of the country right now, or the Midwest for that matter, consider yourself lucky. Although it's cold across it's cold across many parts of the country right now. But yeah, it's snowing and raining here. It's just miserable just in general right now here in Michigan, and it doesn't look to get any better anytime soon in the forecast. So we have that to look forward to, Brent. So yay us.
Yeah, Jacob is under 8 inches of snow right now. So yay you, Jacob. Yay you.
Yeah, well, you took the cake from us, Jacob. Congratulations. You are the winner. Man, 8 inches. It seems like it's too early for snow.
It's
dude.
way too early for this.
I'm not ready for this. I'm just not. It's not even Thanksgiving yet. Which, by the way, just looking at the calendar and being like, Thanksgiving is next week. What the hell is going on?
I don't know, dude.
Are we in a time paradox? Seriously.
It's coming up quick, man.
Yeah, like, am I gonna walk out of my house tomorrow and just see like vortex time tornadoes like tearing through the atmosphere?
I hope not.
Yeah, it seems crazy that that Thanksgiving is right around the corner, which means Christmas is right around the corner, which means the end of 2018 is right around the corner, and which means we have a lot of stuff to talk about with regards to Destiny, Brent. So there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline here. There's a lot going on in the game right now. You mentioned Iron Banner returned, so we're in there doing that. There's a scramble to kind of complete some of the end of the initial season of Forsaken activities as we get ready for the new season of the game. So a lot going on in the game, but we've got a lot to discuss on the show here today. So we want to start with something that broke last week as we were recording the show. Oddly enough, the news came out prior to us recording Tower Talk, but I hadn't heard anything about it prior to our recording the show, and it started to gain traction a few hours after it had came out. So we didn't get a chance to discuss it on last week's show, but it's something that we must discuss on this week's show, Brent. And that's this little story about an Activision earnings call that specifically pointed towards Destiny 2 Forsaken underperforming in terms of their expectations. So there's going to be some different ways that we need to frame this conversation, and this story has obviously been picked up by any and everybody out there: Kotaku, IGN, Game Informer, any publication, any big publication has picked up this story and reported on it. For the purposes of our discussion, Brent, I'm actually going to read from a Variety article of all places.
Oh, wow, Variety.
They put together an article that has a lot of quotes from the earnings call, which I think are pertinent to our discussion here.
Mm-hmm.
It's an article titled "Activision Blizzard Explains Why It's Giving Away Destiny 2." So as we know, Destiny 2 is free right now via PC. If you have not picked it up yet, you've got a couple more days until the 18th to do so. So get on there, grab that. You'll own it forever. All you'll have to do is purchase Forsaken in the future if you so choose. If you want to continue your Destiny adventure on PC, so great deal there from that BlizzCon announcement. Obviously, the game was given away a few weeks back on PlayStation Plus as well. So ample opportunity to get your hands on Destiny. I mean, the Best Buy has been selling it for $6 here and there over the last 6 months. So there's been many opportunities to get your hands on this game. But let's read from this Variety article, and this is going to frame our discussion here, Brent. So Destiny 2 active players grew over the past quarter thanks to the release of expansion Forsaken, but Activision Blizzard still isn't happy with its sales. So it decided to give the game away for 2 weeks, the company's COO and president told analysts during an earnings call this week. At BlizzCon, we announced that Destiny, the base game, is free for 2 weeks, meaning download it by November 18th and you get to keep the base game forever, Activision COO and president Cody Johnson explained. I'm going to guess that's Cody and not Cody. But I'm just going out on a limb here. I've never seen CODDY as a name. Are you in agreement? Cody is what we should go with here.
Yeah, I would go with Cody. I've never seen it spelt that way though.
Yeah. So Cody/Cody Johnson explained this. We did that because we want the whole community loaded up and able to play it, but also because it's a live game. And once you're in it with the ongoing features and services and content, there's really deep engagement that takes place. And part of it was also because we have not yet seen the full core re-engage in Destiny, which has led to the underperformance against our expectations to date. Some players we still think are in wait-and-see mode. So when you're in, you're deeply engaged. If you're not, we're hoping now is the time to work to bring players back in and win them back. Essentially, Activision Blizzard sees the path to making money from Destiny 2 as a constant drip feed of payments from active players in the game, either for cosmetic items or for the expansion packs. It's the same approach to some degree used by massive money makers like Fortnite, which earns almost all of its money from in-game purchases. Mm-hmm. At issue, Johnson believes, isn't whether Destiny 2's expansion is any good, but that people aren't willing to buy the base game and then pay for it. Mm-hmm. Buy the base game to then pay for it. Forsaken is a high-quality expansion of content into the universe, Johnson said. Honestly, it's the highest quality content we've seen in the franchise to date, a sentiment echoed by every single Destiny player out there. Honestly, it really came out of Activision and Bungie working together to address community concerns post Destiny 2 holistically. I love how Activision slid themselves in there in that statement. So I'm sure they had a huge hand in turning around Destiny 2, right? I digress. Talking to players, we knew it came from users really doing a fundamental review of how to offer a deeper endgame, greater powers, and greater rewards, and engage players who seem to be really enjoying the content. In particular, it was very well received both by reviewers and by the community, and has ongoing deepening engagement by those that are playing it. And we can attest to all of that as part of that deepening engagement. But expansions only make money from those who already own the base game, and Destiny 2 launched without the full support of those who played the original title, which Johnson believes is now hurting the game. Some of our other franchises, like Destiny, are not performing as well as we'd like, and we're working to accelerate the pace of live operations innovation and improve the speed with which we release new content to keep our players engaged and to provide new opportunities for monetization, Johnson said. It remains to be seen how successful giving the game away will be in terms of spurring more in-game purchases and purchases of Forsaken and future expansion packs. It's also possible that, if successful, the giveaway of Destiny 2 will become permanent. That is the end of this Variety article, Brent. So there's a lot to chew on here, dude. Mm-hmm. Let's get the discussion started. Like, what's sticking out to you here? What do you think of all this?
Well, obviously, they're not happy with what they saw from sales, and Forsaken. I got to ask you something. In this particular earnings call, did this cover the PS Plus promotion where they gave away Destiny 2? Would that have fallen under this?
I mean, this was a quarterly earnings call, so I would assume that would be included in there. But wow. It doesn't appear that they've referenced this in any kind of way. This is strictly just in regards to Forsaken itself. The giveaway
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, the giveaway of Destiny 2 via PS Plus occurred when? Was that August?
I thought it was
July?
September.
Was it September?
I thought it was pretty close to Forsaken. It might have been August though.
I think you're right. It may have actually been September. I think maybe it started in August, but then it kind of rolled through September. Yeah, so I think you're right. So seemingly that should have been included as a part of this, but there's no mention of PlayStation Plus anywhere in this article.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, I'm wondering about that because, I mean, man, if they ran that and they still couldn't drive sales, I think that speaks volumes, even though they don't reference it. If this thing still underperformed with basically, I don't know how many people had PlayStation Plus, but for that many people to have access to Destiny 2 and download it for free, and still not be able to pull enough people in to pick up Forsaken to where this is still underwhelming. That I think that speaks a lot. Actually, I think that does. Go ahead.
Let me bring another angle into this, and a lot of this is coming via an article that Paul Tassi wrote on Forbes. So he wrote an article after this story broke, talking about what this means, yada yada yada. But one of the things he touched on that I think is interesting is this idea that maybe Activision does not have realistic expectations for either Destiny or really any of their games. Like, he talked about how the $500 million that Black Ops 4 made was not up to their expectations for Call of Duty.
Right.
So, maybe they're a little bit skewed because get this, man. So, in terms of Forsaken, Destiny 2 Forsaken was the #1 digital grossing title in the month of September 2018. So I'm gonna read this from this is information from SuperData. So console digital spending is robust heading into the holidays. Consumers spent $1.2 billion on digital console games in September, up from $912 million in the same month last year, continuing a string of high growth months going into the holiday season. Primary contributors were a slew of AAA launches, including Destiny 2's Forsaken expansion and Marvel's Spider-Man. The incremental shift towards digital distribution for annual franchises like FIFA and NBA 2K, and the continuing popularity of Fortnite. So check out this list on console here. These are the top grossing titles for the month of September 2018. #1, Destiny 2. #2, Marvel Spider-Man. #3, FIFA 19. #4, Fortnite Battle Royale. #5, NBA 2K19. #6, FIFA 18. Go figure. #7, Call of Duty World War II. #8, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. #9, Grand Theft Auto 5. And #10, PUBG. And then there's some interesting nuggets down here underneath that. Destiny 2 beats out Fortnite to take the #1 digital console ranking spot. Destiny 2 gets a big boost from Forsaken. Destiny 2 topped our digital console rankings this month on the back of the new Forsaken expansion and an increase in deluxe edition purchases. Over 60% of all monthly active users purchased the expansion, which is a huge number of the player base that purchased the expansion. So, Brent, I feel like this frames this conversation a little bit differently. I want to put this on your plate as well. So we have a graphic for this as well that shows off Activision's third quarter reporting results or whatever. Mm-hmm. And in the Activision section, they list $397 million. That's their net revenue for Q3. For Q3, their operating income was $112 million with a 28% operating margin. And then the highlights. Key revenue contributors included Call of Duty's in-game performance and Destiny 2 Forsaken, though the latter underperformed expectations. So we get that. We get that it underperformed according to Activision's expectations, but this is a game that took the #1 spot away from Fortnite, of all things. In the month of September 2018, it was the #1 digital purchase for the month of September in the video gaming world. And it's listed as a key contributor to revenue in their third quarter 2018 results. It just didn't meet their obviously lofty expectations for what this game was expected to sell. And also, if you remember, Destiny charted on the NPD numbers from a physical perspective as well, for the month of September. It was in 7 or 8 or whatever it came in at. So it was in the top 10 games there as well. So Brent, let's bring back this conversation now. So with that information, I feel like this, like I mentioned, this frames the discussion a little bit differently. What do you think about all this? Just give me your thoughts.
It doesn't sound like a game that's doing too bad to me, that's for sure.
No.
But no, and you bring up a good point about, maybe Activision has their expectations a little too high, and they wouldn't be the only publisher. I mean, you look at Square Enix and what we've seen in the past
Tomb
from
Raider.
them. Yeah, Tomb Raider. And what was the other one? Hitman was another one that
Yeah.
underperformed, and you just wonder what the hell are the expectations
Hmm.
for these games, And the only other reason I thought maybe it did underperform is because, first of all, Destiny 2 had such a long grueling road up to the release of Forsaken, where there was a lot of people that were burned by it, and
Hmm.
by the time you go throughout the course of the year, and you've got other games that you're playing, and then you've got the big fall lineup of games, you got to believe there's probably some people that fell off the wagon and never ever came back on. So they're probably
Absolutely.
missing a bunch of people who jumped into that were either waiting for the Call of Duties or they're playing the Spider-Mans. And they've just moved on due to the long grind it took for them to get Destiny 2 to where it should be. So I can't help with that. Maybe that's what it also comes into play when they say it underperformed, simply because I just think it was a long time for them to get the game where it needed to be.
Hmm. And the other aspect of this is they're comparing quarter 3 year over year. So quarter 3 2017 included the release of Destiny 2 as a whole. So the
Mm-hmm.
regular Destiny 2 vanilla game launched then, and we know that that was a sales behemoth. In that Tassie article, he reiterates the fact that that was the number 3 top selling game of 2017 of the entire year was Destiny
Mm-hmm.
2. So there's a lot of people that own that game. There's a lot of people that bought it at launch. So we're not comparing this month with the launch of an expansion, and which just by its nature is not going to compare to the launch of a game itself. There's
Right.
never been 100% conversion rate for people that buy a game to buy its expansion. It's just not how it works.
Right.
So we're comparing that. Obviously, there's other things going on here. There's Call of Duty, but there was Call of Duty, last year as well. So we're comparing different things here. Um, I'm not sure if maybe it's because Black Ops came out a little bit earlier this year, so
Mm-hmm.
maybe the reporting channels are different for these two quarters. Not 100% sure on that. But the fact remains, this was we're talking about the number 3 top selling game of 2017 of last year. So clearly those sales are going to be tough to match up to with the things that released this quarter. So
Mm-hmm.
I just think there's a lot that goes into this, and I think in some respects, as always on the internet, Brent, and when does this not happen? But
Right.
these stories get blown out of proportion, and information gets taken out of context. So when we look at the whole, and we look at the digital sales, and we look at actually how much of Destiny is contributing to Activision, some people just come out and just say stupid stuff, man. Like, they're just talking about this game's in trouble and yada yada yada. Like, this game is not in trouble. This game is not in trouble of anything. It's a game that Activision has lofty expectations for, partly because they have 3 studios working on it with thousands of people working on this game, partly because they entered into a $500 million contract with Bungie to make this game, and partly because they just have crazy expectations because they're Activision and they're used to
Mm-hmm.
selling just millions and millions and millions of games whenever they release their games. So there's a lot that goes into this, but I think when it's all said and done, yes, whatever lofty expectations Activision had for this game were not met as of yet.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact remains that, like everybody is saying, and you and I agree on this, Destiny is in the best place it's ever been in. It's the best
Mm-hmm.
version of Destiny it's ever been. From the end game to the Crucible to everything in between, Destiny 2 Forsaken is a high point, even a higher point than the Taken King, if you can believe that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the best content they've ever released. The community is engaged in a way they've never been engaged before. So now it's going to be their job to try and expand that community and reach out and extend the olive branch to some of those people that they may have lost during the initial launch of Destiny 2, as well as bringing in new players. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot that's going to go into that, and I don't have the answers for that. And people that are get paid a lot of money to figure out this stuff are racking their brains to try to figure it out. But the fact remains, Brent, when you have a quality product, like these things just speak for themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually Forsaken will do what it has to do. But if it remains a quality game, the players will be there and new players will continue to come.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you.
The uh um the other thing that I love about this, Brent, is the response of Luke Smith. So after this story broke, Luke Smith was prompt with a tweet that read as follows: "We are not disappointed with Forsaken. We set out to build a game that Destiny players would love, and at Bungie we love it too. Building Destiny for players who love it is and will remain our focus going forward. End quote. So I love that, dude. He just came out just flat out like, look, we realized what we did. We made a game of Forsaken that we love. We made a game of Forsaken that you guys love. And
Mm-hmm.
moving forward, our focus will continue to be the people that love Destiny and that love Forsaken and that love the minutia of Destiny. That's the group that we're making this game for, and that's not going to change moving forward. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, no, that is really good to hear because you always wonder, what's going to happen with Destiny going forward, Destiny 2, and even Destiny 3. Are they going to learn from those mistakes? And by Luke saying that, yes, I think they've learned from that mistake, and I don't think we'll see them cater to the casual audience as much the next time around. They're going to focus on the hardcore. They know that's where their base is. They know that's where the committed people. When you try to cater something to casual people, they're not going to commit to it long term. Some of them might grow into a hardcore fan. But for the most part, casual people are going to move on after a certain amount of time. They realize that, and they need the hardcore there. The hardcore is the one that buys the expansions, that buys all the Eververse stuff, that spends all the money in-game. Those are the people they need to tailor to.
Yeah, which leads me into the kind of final angle of this story, Brent, and that's where do we go from here in terms of Destiny? So obviously we have the plan for the year. We've got the annual pass. It remains to be seen, how that revenue stream works. But it seems from everything that we can read between the lines in this statement and everything that we've seen, like people are happy critically, commercially. The developers, the publishers, like they're all happy with what Forsaken is right now. It's a great game. It's a lot of fun. People are engaged with the game. However, if you read between the lines there's a lot of talk about monetization and what can we do to monetize this game. So what does Destiny look like moving forward, Brent? I don't know like how much of this we see over the course of the next year for year 2 of Destiny 2, the Forsaken year. From what Activision is saying, this sounds like they want to implement things like immediately. So what are we looking at here? Are we looking at an increased focus on Eververse again? Are we going to have more microtransactions available? Or are these going to be more in our face and egging us on to purchase this stuff? Might we move towards a subscription model? Might we move towards just an entirely free-to-play model that's supported by microtransactions? Like, what do you think, is gun to your head right now as we sit here right now? Like, what does this game look like moving forward?
I'm always worried about when you try to go to the free-to-play model, because those types of games the microtransactions can break the game and the community if they're egregious and they're not well thought out. And that's the biggest fear I think for a lot of people with Destiny 2 is because like you mentioned, it's in a great place right now. If there's one thing that the gaming community as a whole is always concerned about and always worried about is how microtransactions are implemented into a game. I think Eververse is in a good spot right now. I think Eververse is a very good spot.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think about what they could do to bring in more people, to make it more appealing to more people. You have to be very, very careful. Like if you want to put some cool stuff in there that people can pay for and you can make money off that, that's great, but how can you pull people into a game if it's going to free to play and there's expansions that you can buy? What could they do, boys, with Eververse or anything like that? What could they do with the base? I mean, obviously we've seen them give it away on PlayStation Plus. Jacob mentioned in the chat it's Xbox turn. When's it going to come to Games of Gold free because it's on PC free? So I mean, yes, you can give the base game, but what can they possibly do? I mean, they do Gambit weekends free all the time. They do all this stuff free, and they're giving the game away. What more do they need to do? You know what I'm saying? What more do they have to do? I mean, other than just the obvious price cut, I mean, what do they need to do? Make it cheaper after a certain amount of time, or like you said, a subscription service? If you subscribe, you get it cheaper right away. Or I mean, what can they possibly do?
I mean, I don't have the answer right now. I'm not sure, man. And as far as what they can do with Eververse, I mean, we saw what happened when they tried to put Eververse at the forefront of Destiny 2. The community rebelled, and that was one of those never to be seen again. Never will this happen again. So, I mean, you remember, Festival of the Cost and the initial the initial dawning of the initial event of Destiny 2 when that first came out. That was just just loaded with microtransactions. People were not happy about that. Curse of Osiris brought in a whole bunch of Eververse focused goods that people were not happy about at all. And it was yeah, it was pitchforks and blowtorches and knives when that was going on. And so I don't know what they do with Eververse, but what they did before did not work. So
Right.
they cannot do that again.
I think they have
And
to be very careful too, man. Like
yeah,
seriously, like the community is super happy right now. But this is a very fragile community. Okay, this is like, you get your dog back after it breaks its leg, and you're petting it, and it's happy to be home again, and everything's good. And then you hand them back to the kids, and then they destroy it. The kids being Activision, don't give it back to the kids. Don't have Activision start implementing all these microtransactions. You have to be very, very careful with how you're going to handle this.
yeah. And I don't really have any good ideas or any good solutions on what we can do in terms of monetization for Destiny 2.
Hmm.
I will say though that whatever Activision or Bungie decides to do in terms of monetization with this game, I'll support it as much as I can. If I think it's a good idea. If it's something that's just egregious and garbage, then I won't. But if it's something that seems reasonable, like I definitely want to get out there and support this game because you know for a $40 expansion, Brent, this thing just gives us just hundreds of hours of content, and
Hmm.
for a little more, you get the expansion pass, and you're covered. Like my gaming's covered for the next year. Like I
Hmm.
really don't have to worry about it. If I want to buy another game, I can. Will I play another game that I buy? I don't know. We'll see. But like for $70, like I'm covered for the next year in terms of gaming. So I don't mind like buying a cool emote or like buying the it emote or something like that. When it comes
Hmm.
along, I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll shell out for that. So I don't know. Like my first thought with stuff like this is maybe we just go to some type of like a cool licensed um like tie in like Star Wars or something like that. Maybe they could bring in something like a Star Wars speeder bike or something that you could put in Eververse that people could buy in terms of like your Sparrow. Or I don't know. They could do like lightsaber emotes. I don't know. Just
Uh,
obviously that's not like perfect, but I
Right.
don't know.
I mean,
If
yeah,
they
no, I get what you're saying, and those are cool ideas. I just don't want it to turn into like a circus act, with just all sorts of goofy stuff like that. I mean, I think Star Wars obviously something they could look at and it makes sense, but I don't know. I think when you get into that, you just open up a whole can of worms. I mean, obviously there are some references to some of the emotes now. The way the dance, like you said, the one with
yeah.
Pennywise dance. So there
Yeah.
are some connections. I just don't know if you want to have something as blatant like that. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and it would never happen with Star Wars because Star Wars is under EA, so like it would never happen. But it's just like something like that, like maybe something with that kind of gravity, like maybe they could tie it in some kind of a way.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know, dude, and I'll be honest, I'm a little bit worried about that respect, like about the monetization aspect of this game.
Hmm.
I'm a
Yep.
little bit worried about what the future of Destiny looks like in response to that because I don't want this to be a free to play game.
Right.
I generally don't like free to play games and their economies and their monetization systems. I generally don't like those and don't enjoy like getting involved in those ecosystems. Like I like games that I can buy and I can buy the expansions. But I guess I'm old school in that now. So I don't know,
Hmm.
man. It's just like as gaming goes along and these new revenue models come along, we've gotta adjust to these things. So I don't know, but I'm a little bit worried though.
Yeah, and the last thing you really want is right. Bungie's got creative freedom making their games. The last thing you want is Activision starting to kind of get their hands into it, especially for
Hmm.
like Destiny 3. You don't want the
Yeah.
publisher in there tinkering. I mean, you mentioned it in that press release. Activision, they're responsible for turning around Destiny 2. I mean, that sounds a little goofy, but I mean,
Yeah.
you really don't want them getting involved with the production of Destiny 3 or even any future content packs for Destiny 2. Let Bungie handle that stuff. The minute you start bringing in publishers to start quote unquote making suggestions or trying to get their hands on it, that's when things get really, really dicey.
Yeah. I agree, man. So we're in an exciting time in terms of Destiny 2 right now. Like we said, Forsaken, the best the game's ever been. There's a new expansion just around the corner in terms of an annual pass expansion. There's lots of new content that's coming down the pipeline. But then we've got a story like this just kind of hovering in the background. I don't know that we'll see anything too grandiose from this, but there's always the possibility that something could change on this front, and maybe when we get a Destiny 3, maybe they do try a different revenue model, and that kind of stuff can be scary, man.
Right? Indeed.
All right, So moving on from there, we will of course monitor this in the years, weeks, months to come, however long it takes to resolve some type of resolution on that. But let's get on to other matters, Brent. And Thunderlord's back, dude. So
Yeah, buddy.
as anticipated, the Lost Cryptarch quest, which has been running the last 3 weeks, came to a head this week with the final mission, which actually took place in the Cosmodrome, which was awesome. And it we finally got our hands on Thunderlord again, man. So as predicted, as talked about in the community for weeks, Thunderlord has returned to Destiny. The first heavy machine gun um, of Destiny 2 is here. We'll see some more of these once Season of the Forge rolls around, and with Black Armory, we know that heavy machine guns are returning as part of that expansion. So this is kind of our first little taste of it. And take note of this as well. If you have not participated in the Lost Cryptarch quest or the search for Master Ives' killer, definitely do so before the end of the season on November 27th, because after this, Thunderlord will return to the exotic engram loot pool, and your pathway to obtaining this becomes that much harder, because it's going to be all RNG based on when you get an exotic engram. I mean, if you've played Destiny 2 since Forsaken came out, exotic engrams are extremely rare. They don't show up very often, so your chances of getting Thunderlord go way down. So get out there.
In terms of
get it
like
now.
in terms of exotic quests, this is the easiest one. Like you can
This is
do.
very
Like,
easy.
it is incredibly simple.
Yeah. So this is what I want to get your thoughts on, Brent. So this was a 3 week time gated quest. Now when you take if you take all 3 weeks and you condense them down, if you were to do this like over the course of an afternoon, like it's a nice little quest that'll take you a couple hours
Sure.
probably to knock out. Over the course of 3 weeks, stretched out like that, it seems very very easy, very just quick to do. Um, so I want to get your thoughts on this. So there's and in one respect, like this is kind of a gift to the people that have been with Forsaken since the beginning, right? It's a gift to them. Like, look, this is the end of the season of the Outlaw. This is the end of the first 3 months of Destiny 2 Forsaken. Thank you for your support. Thank you for all the hours that you've poured into this game. Here's an easy exotic quest to get Thunderlord, a beloved heavy machine gun, and get you guys ready for Season of the Forge, which is going to see machine guns return. On the other respect, we have, well, this is an exotic quest. This is an extremely powerful exotic weapon, especially in PvE, and it's basically just being given away to people through a quest that anybody can do. So, I'm kind of torn on this, Brent. I get both reasons. At the end of the day, though, I feel like I might be leaning towards the camp that maybe this was just a little bit too easy. Where do you fall on this?
It was incredibly easy. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's very simple.
If like you mentioned, if you put all these quests together, you'd have it done in 40 minutes.
Mhm.
I mean, it did not feel like in an exotic quest. There are purple, what's the one purple one we were just talking about the other night? The with the
Which
pulse
one?
rifles.
The broadsword.
Yeah, the broadsword. That one is difficult. This one is just.
Yeah.
This was incredibly simple. I mean, it's incredibly easy. So, I love exotic quests. I love the time gated ones. I like that drip feed. I like knowing that. Okay, oh yeah, hey, that's a weekly reset. I got to hop in and do this mission. It's something I can look forward to down the road. This was literally a walk in the park. It was the easiest, which I think is kind of disappointing considering how awesome Thunderlord is right now. And the guys in the chat are talking about that thing is OP as hell, I guess. They got TFX God in the chat. We got Badass Lord Tipsy. Jacob's in there. They're all talking about it. But, Lord Tipsy was like, he goes, I'm enjoying Thunderlord before it gets nerfed, especially on Arc Week. And, it's an incredibly powerful gun right now. But, I think for how fun it is to use and how powerful it is, I really wish the story would have been a little bit better, a little bit deeper, maybe a little bit more challenging. I mean, you literally just had to go through and just wipe out a bunch of lost sectors. But obviously the highlight of the quest was actually going back to the Cosmodrome. That was the highlight of it, going back to where everything started. So that was really, really cool. But overall, this was a weak ass quest.
Yeah, man, I love that. I love going to the Cosmodrome. I love all the hidden like ghost things. All the hidden lore that's in the Cosmodrome there that you can access with ghosts. Thought that was a really nice touch. You drop down right where you began your Destiny quest, and so what about this idea, Brent? Though that this is kind of like a gift to the players. This is not it, to me. What this seems like is they were probably planning to put Thunderlord into an exotic engram as a part
Hmm.
of Season of the Forge, but they just thought like, well, you know what? For the last couple weeks of the season, let's give the players a chance to earn this through a very straightforward quest. Is something that they can build without too much effort and throw the Thunderlord into the game there for us. So. What do you think about that idea of just giving this to us as a gift, or at the end of the day, it's like gift or no gift? This really should have been a more robust quest.
It's a nice gesture. I'll give them that. It's a nice gesture, and it really is a fun gun to use, and it is cool because a lot of people are talking about how machine guns are always really fun to use.
Yeah.
And this kind of gets that ball rolling, gets that excitement going. But I do wish it was a more robust experience. And Jacob mentions that too. He goes, they should have made the boss harder, or like multiple bosses.
Yeah.
And I agree. It should have been a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Even something as simple as making that last mission a little more in depth.
Yeah.
It's a very quick mission. The lore in there is really cool that you can search for. All that stuff's fun. But even just stretching that out, giving us a more epic boss battle and just making that like a full on like mission, I think would have even made the quest that much more exciting. So yeah, excited to have Thunderlord back, and like the chat is talking about, Brent, that thing is an absolute monster. If you, I've been killed by it in PvP on numerous occasions, so it's working well in the Crucible. But yeah, in PvE, this thing just shreds, absolutely shreds bosses, man. If you just watch any kind of videos on Thunderlord, you'll just see this thing just mowing down very, very powerful enemies. So it's a super fun gun to use. I have not put it through its paces all the way yet, but I'm looking forward to like getting into some strikes, getting into some nightfalls, eventually getting into the raid and whatnot, and just taking this baby out, just nuking some of these things, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
All right, so moving on from the Thunderlord. Also, if you have your Thunderlord, get your copy of this
Hell yeah.
badass shirt too. Yeah, we got a Grim Reaper on a steed with a lightning bolt and Thunderlord in his hand. Like, come on, just go out and buy that thing, man.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm gonna wear that to work, and everyone's gonna be like, "What the hell is that?" I'm gonna be like, "Don't worry about it, bro. Don't worry about it."
yeah, I'm right there with you. All right, now on to some more exciting stuff here. So, as we've alluded to multiple times on this show, Brent, Season of the Forge is right around the corner. This is
Hmm.
this is this is insane, by the way, dude. So we talk about Thanksgiving being right around the corner. How crazy is it that we're already 3 months into the life of Forsaken coming up here, and we're already getting ready for a new season? I
I know,
just,
right?
it's like, man, there's so much I haven't even scratched the surface on. I feel in this game, which is crazy. But Season of the Forge will in fact begin on November 27th. So I'm going to read from the Bungie blog here. With the Thunderlord in play at the end of the trail, the Season of the Outlaw has revealed its very last mystery. If you fought your way from Cade through the raid, we've loved having you along for the ride. The time has come to begin a new conversation about how the Destiny endgame will continue to thrive in the months to come. As announced last week, Season of the Forge will begin on November 27th, 2018. So just to reiterate this again, so last week when we talked about the end of the first season, Season of the Outlaw, there was a little bit of thought in the community that maybe this is not the start of the next season because it's in the middle of November. Black Armory is supposed to start in December. So like, what's going on here? But they explain what's going on here. So on the day it arrives, we're planning to release a brand new Vidoc and a full gameplay calendar to illustrate what awaits your Guardian for the rest of the year. I can't wait to see that, man. That's going to be
Hmm.
exciting. What we have planned are not the post-launch expansions you may have played in years past. Your Starside journeys will span 3 distinct seasons that will unfold over the rest of the year. Now, Brent, I want to call your attention to a picture that they put in the Bungie Weekly Update. So we have
Hmm.
Season of the Forge, as we know, which will feature the Black Armory, a mysterious group that of blacksmiths that put together these just epic weapons. Cannot wait to see what that's all about. The next season, Season of the Drifter, starring, of course, the Drifter, and will feature Gambit, I'm sure, heavily in some respect. And then we have the final season of Forsaken, year one, or Destiny 2, year two, however you want to say it, with Season of the Redacted. We're still not getting the name of this season, and we know this is the season that's gonna house Penumbra, which
Hmm.
is the expansion where Bungie claims they're not gonna tell us anything. It's gonna be
Hmm.
simply the community going out in there, finding out stuff, sharing this amongst each other, and we have a picture for the first time attached to this season. and it looks to be some kind of an exo with like a sword in its back.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get your thoughts on this, man. I don't know what this picture is referencing. Do you recognize this photo at all? Are we supposed to draw some connections with this? What do you make of this?
I don't know, man. It's very mysterious. I mean, it looks like a badass exoskeleton. So,
Yeah,
Jacob says it's Benedict on the Leviathan. Does that look like Benedict?
it's a Benedict. Okay, Benedict
Hmm.
on the Leviathan.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the one that out of all these seasons. I mean, don't get me wrong. Season of the Forge sounds awesome. Season of the Drift sounds awesome.
Yeah,
This is the one I'm most interested in, dude.
yeah.
This is the one I'm really, really interested in because this is like you mentioned. This is the one they're not going to tell us anything. They're not going to say what's going on. You just go out there and explore, and that's the one thing I want from Destiny 2, especially when you're out in the world. All those I mean, we're talking about stuff that we probably won't see markings on the wall to say, "Hey, come on in here. There's some secret stuff in here." This is going to be truly like nitty gritty. Search every nook and cranny, see what you can find. That's the one I'm most interested in, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I mean, just think back over the years of Destiny, and you hear people talk about some of the most fondly remembered content from this game. You think about things like the Black Hammer mission in Destiny 1, with the secret pathway in the Tannic Strike. You think about the Whisper of the Worm quest that just dropped on us out of the blue. You think about the Outbreak Prime quest and everything that crazy stuff that went into that thing with the community, like figuring out binary code and just all the crazy stuff that went into that. So building an entire season around those ideas and around those concepts, dude, it's incredibly exciting to see what's going to come out of that. So yeah, I can't wait to see what becomes of that. Jacob says this is Benedict on the Leviathan, so I don't know what that means, if anything, but yeah, I can't wait to see what that's all about, man. But let's continue on here. So what will each season hold for every player of Destiny 2? How will the annual pass add to that experience? So that's a big question that we're all wondering right now.
Right.
So what's going to be accessible to everyone, and what does this annual pass I bought get me access to? Like, what does this do for me? These are the questions we want to answer as we introduce you to a whole new way to enjoy your hobby as a Guardian, with new challenges to conquer and new rewards you'll want to add to your inventory. Next week, as the holiday season begins in our neck of the woods, the news coming out of our studio will be random and light. The week after, we'll be exploring all the details of another kind of season. Stay tuned for what comes next. So obviously, Brent, we have this week where we have Iron Banner going on. We've got 1 week left in the season following this week, so we're getting down to the end here. Next week is a holiday week with Thanksgiving, so there won't be much coming out of Bungie. But the following week, dude, sounds like we're gonna get slaughtered with information. We're gonna have a Vidoc. We're gonna have a roadmap for the next year. We're gonna have a breakdown of everything we can expect from the annual pass. I'm pumped, dude. I can't wait for a couple of weeks to see what's coming down the pipe here.
Those reveals are always the best, dude. They're always the best.
They are. They always happen during working hours as well. So like production just comes to a screeching halt.
No, the 27th is a Tuesday, right?
Probably.
Yeah, I'll be at home. I'll watch it.
Yeah, must be nice. I will not be. I'll be at my desk taking a lunch. Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, moving on from the season of the Forge. So, we should probably address this now, Brent. So it sounds like next week won't be too much going on. Obviously, it'll be a holiday, so we won't have a tower talk next week. But the following week, hell, we might have to do 3 tower talks. There might be so much stuff to talk about. Who knows?
A lot to talk about.
Yeah, but we're gonna have a lot to talk about the following week on Tower Talks, and make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Now, another very interesting nugget from this week, Brent, revolves around Gambit. So I don't know if you got a chance to watch this, but Bungie put up a Gambit, like a Bungie bounty thing where they played with members of the community, and you could earn the emblem for matching with Bungie and defeating them, so on and so forth. They do this stuff a lot. It's the first time I believe they've done it with Gambit. But they did a Gambit bounty, and as a part of this, they revealed some very interesting information about Gambit. So just to reiterate some of the things that were discussed in this stream, they put it on This Week at Bungie, and this is from Gambit designer Robbie Stevens. He has this to note in terms of what's being worked on for Gambit moving forward. So for Gambit bounties, there's some good stuff in here. Gambit bounties, infamy rank point awards for all bounties have been doubled. Thank you. Because you definitely don't get enough of those right now.
No.
Numerous daily challenges, and weeklies have had their objectives retuned to take less time and be easier to complete. This is also good. I do think that obviously we don't want the bounties to just be so easy that you just you just knock them out in one match. But
Mm-hmm.
some of them do take a little more time than I think maybe they need to. So
Yep.
I do like that they're looking into tuning those.
Mm-hmm.
A new bounty has been added to the daily rotation that requires primeval envoy kills,
Nice.
which is cool. Infamy rewards. Subdivision rank ups now award Gambit legendary weapons or armor. Goodbye blues. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's anytime we can get rid of blues in a rank up situation. Hell yeah, sign me up for that. Primeval catch-up mechanics are also being adjusted.
I like
Teams that
this.
summon their Primeval second can only ever receive one catch-up stack of Primeval Slayer. That's catch-up, not ketchup like the like mustard and ketchup.
Oh my god.
I've just when I said it, it sounded like ketchup. It's like ketchup, but it's catch up.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. Previously, the trailing team would receive multiple stacks depending on how far behind they were. For instance, if the leading team had 7 stacks of Primeval Slayer, when the trailing team summoned, they would receive 4 stacks. Now they will only receive 1. So, Brent, I've played a lot of Gambit over the weeks and months here, and I didn't even know this was a thing or even noticed this.
Mm-mm.
I should probably pay more attention to those Slayer stacks. Probably explains why I suck at this mode so much. Um, the Ascendant Primeval. We've identified another issue that was causing the Ascendant Primeval to not always award credit to the correct team when killed, and we fixed it. So it's good that for some reason that this bug keeps cropping up where people are killing the Primeval servitor and it's crediting the other team. Man, that would suck if that happened. Let me tell you, 'cause that thing does not show up very often.
Can you imagine if we did that the other night when we did get the Malfeasance quest? We beat it and the other team gets it.
Dude, I would have been so pissed, man. And also as a part of the Gambit discussion, we have double infamy and triple infamy returning to end the season. So this is cool because a lot of people are going to be grinding for like end of season triumphs. A lot of people are going to be trying to get those rewards that are associated with prestiging or what do they call it? Resetting your infamy rank. Yeah. So double infamy will run from November 20th to the 23rd, and triple infamy from November 23rd to November 27th, leading right into the release of Season of the Forge, the next season of Destiny 2 Forsaken. So a lot of cool stuff going on with Gambit. And one other thing, Brent, that's not mentioned here, but they mentioned on this stream, is Gambit is going to be getting its own pinnacle weapon to chase next season.
Yes.
So much in the way we had Redrix's broadsword with the Crucible. Redrix's Claymore with the Crucible a few seasons ago. Last season we had Redrix's broadsword, and we were introduced to Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten. Now we will have a pinnacle weapon available with Gambit, and what some of the designers were talking about, much in the way that Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten are designed to be dominant in a Crucible setting because that's where they're obtained. These weapons will be designed to be dominant in a Gambit setting. So. Yeah, so very excited to be able to chase a pinnacle weapon in Gambit, man. So overall, Brent, what's your thoughts on all the stuff they're doing with Gambit? This is all stuff that needs to be done, right?
Yeah, I really like the daily challenges, how those are going to be a little bit easier because those ones are kind of grindy, especially if it's just a daily challenge. It shouldn't be something that should take up a bunch of your time, especially with all the other vendors that have daily bounties and stuff that you want to work on. They shouldn't be terribly long. The weekly ones, I actually don't have a problem with any of the weekly ones. I think those are actually pretty fair. So I hope they don't tweak those too much because I do like having those like throughout the week, but yeah, the daily stuff they could probably shorten up just a little bit, just so it feels more like a daily challenge, and you can also focus on your other ones throughout the day as well. Especially for those that don't have a lot of time that can't play all day, it is nice being able to hop in there and have a little bit shorter challenge.
Yeah, I agree. So I think those are all good changes. Excited to see what they do with Gambit moving forward, and especially when we get to the season after this, Brian, with the Drifter season, you got to imagine there's going to be all kinds of cool stuff going on with Gambit at that time. So should be a lot of fun. See how that plays up.
Do you think the wife will mind if on Thanksgiving when we're hosting people, if I'm like, hey, I'm going to go downstairs and get some of this double infamy on Thanksgiving Day? Do you think that's going to go over well, or do you think I should avoid doing that?
No, dude, I'll be down there with you. So
nice.
Let's make it happen. Like, yeah, I'm going to watch the Lions game. Just wanna kind of detach from the crowd and just watch the Lions game in peace, and then
she know I'd be lying.
Let's come down and play Destiny for 3 hours instead. Yeah. So yeah, I'm contemplating. I'm supposed to work Friday after Thanksgiving, but I'm contemplating maybe taking that day off. Um, A, to probably purchase things I don't need to as a
Hmm.
part of Black Friday, and B, to maybe play some Destiny.
Well, I'm
So,
off Friday, so we should.
hmm, you sly dog, you.
I know.
All right, a couple final things you want to touch on here, Brent. So some things you want to put on the community's radar. So once again, with Season of the Forge around the corner, some things are going to change in terms of of your character and some ranks that are resetting. So items that will reset as a part of the season change on November 27th are as follows: your Nightfall rank, your Valor rank, your Glory rank, your Infamy rank. Any incomplete triumph or quest step that requires players to complete objectives in any single season, that will reset or just reset. Any incomplete triumph with season 4 in the title will expire and be removed at the start of Season of the Forge. So if you
Hmm.
are not done with some of those and you're looking to get those done, please put those on your radar over the next week and a half. Now, things that will not reset or expire are the quests for Pinnacle Crucible weapons from Season of the Outlaw. So if you're in the midst of trying to obtain Luna's Howl or the Redrix's Broadsword, be advised that you won't lose any progress in your quest steps. However, your rank will be reset when it comes to your valor and when it comes to your glory rank. So,
Hmm.
if you are close to fabled or heaven forbid you're close to legend, you better get in there and get that wrapped up and get that not forgotten into your inventory because that sucker's getting reset on November 27th. So please keep that in mind. Also, any incomplete triumph or quest step that requires players to complete objectives across all seasons will not reset. Other things to keep in mind: you have until November 27th to redeem prismatic facets received from weekly Eververse bounties. After the season transitions, prismatic facets from Season of the Outlaw will expire and no longer be available for use in the prismatic matrix. Also, a brand new Eververse engram will, of course, be available. A new bright engram will unlock at the start of Season of the Forge. So if there are things you are looking for from this season, try and get your rank up, buy some silver, buy some engrams, do whatever you got to do to finish out your collection because a new engram will be available on November 27th. Um, Something else interesting to note here: with the upcoming transition into Season of the Forge, there's a known issue regarding Gambit bounties. Players who complete Gambit bounties during Season of the Outlaw and keep those bounties in their inventories after the season transitions must complete a Gambit match in the new season before turning them in. Players who turn these bounties in after the Season of the Forge begins, but before playing a Gambit match, will not correctly receive points to their infamy rank for these bounties.
Ooh.
So please keep that in mind. If you are planning to get some bounties done and then use these bounties as a head start on your Season of the Forge infamy
Hmm.
rank, make sure that you play a Gambit match before you turn those in, or you will not get the proper credit for those.
Okay.
So um, this is also something that is very important. So, in recent weeks, some players have noticed that Season of the Forge begins on November 27th, but Black Armory becomes available on December 4th. Just like the release of Forsaken before it, there will be a 1 week window in which Destiny 2 will be in a state of transition, and players may encounter a number of unforeseen issues.
Hmm.
Brent, let me get your quick thoughts on this. So when they did this with Forsaken, when they had that kind of week kind of building up to it, we got a week of a preview of what the new season was going to look like before we got
Hmm.
full on Forsaken the following week. Sounds like they're going to do something similar to this. How'd you feel that worked the first time around? You okay with them doing it again?
I thought it was actually pretty transparent. There was, we got in there and got to try some stuff out, and I'm sure they took some of the feedback that they had to to tweak it before the full on launch. So I
Hmm.
feel it works very well in that regard. They can get that information, but it didn't really occur to me what was going on. It was just you kind of jumped in and played Destiny 2. You tried out some of the new stuff, and that was about
Hmm.
the extent of it. So I thought it was a smooth transition. I thought it was nice to be able to go in there and play. Yeah, there were a couple things you couldn't do, but I didn't think it didn't take away from the fun factor of playing the game, and that's the most important thing. So I thought it was a nice transition. I'm sure they got some feedback out of it. So
Hmm.
I think it was really well done.
Yeah, if you think about it, the release of Forsaken, there it wasn't too many issues with the launch of Forsaken. I
Mm-mm.
mean, we were playing the game at midnight when it came out, and or whenever it went live, and we were trying to get into the game initially, and there's always like that first hour where the servers are kind of weird. But I feel like after that, it's pretty smooth sailing.
Hmm.
So if they had to take a week of kind of gearing up for that in order to make that a reality, like I'm on board for that, man.
Hmm.
Um, there's a few other known issues out in the world. Make sure you visit the Destiny Help Forum. You can see everything that's going on in the world of Forsaken. And if we didn't talk about your issue there, more than likely somebody else has in the Help Forum. So seek that out there. And Brent, that is going to bring us to the end of this episode of Tower Talk. So a lot of exciting things going on in the world of Destiny. You cannot wait for a couple weeks where we see what the roadmap for the rest of this year looks like. Incredibly excited to see that, dude.
Yeah, it's gonna be those reveals are always really exciting. We're gonna get a lot of answers. Hopefully, we get all the answers we have for the questions that we have regarding what we're gonna get from the annual pass and all that stuff. But yeah, dude, it's that Forsaken's out, everyone's having a good time, and everyone's really happy with the changes that they've made to the game. It's like we mentioned, it's in the best state it's ever been, and now we're playing here. We got a holiday week coming up, and then, dude, we're going to start taking a peek behind the curtain that is 2019 and going to get a look at what we can expect for the months ahead. It's maybe some teases here and there, but we're getting to the next step, dude. The next step of the evolution of the game, the new content, new challenges, and everything they talked about. This is really exciting, dude. It's coming up. It's coming up quick. We got the holiday in there, and it kind of takes away from the excitement. But man, once the holiday passes and everyone wakes up from their food coma, dude, we got a big reveal coming out that week.
Oh yeah. Yeah, once we eat the turkey, watch the Lions lose, digest, and by the time we get to Tuesday, we're ready to rock and roll with the new season of Destiny 2 Forsaken, man. It's pretty exciting.
Lord Tipsy has a question, and it's a good question because I'm sure I haven't heard yet, but he said I may have missed this, but will the light go up or stay at 600? Have they addressed where the light level is going to go? I would say it's a safe bet that it will go up. Because these are, like any expansion, they're going to want to kind of give you that carrot at the end of the stick. So while they haven't announced that yet, I don't even think they've hinted at it. We'll probably find out not next week, but the week after, Tipsy.
Yeah, I would bet a whole lot of money on the fact that our light level will raise with Black Armory. So as a part of Black Armory, if you remember in the bullet point list, if I'm remembering correctly, one of the items on there is a brand new raid layer for us to partake in. One of the items is a brand new end game activity, which we don't know what that is, or it's called a forge of something. So there's this brand new forge activity, and I would imagine that they will want to put some nice weapons and things associated with that. So they almost have to raise the light level at this point. I think it's a given that the light level gets raised. The question is how high.
I don't think
how high do they go?
I would be shocked if it's the same amount that we got when Forsaken
No
dropped.
way. No way.
I don't think it'll be anything like that. But I mean, it might be your typical. What is it normally 50 or 100? I mean, maybe 50. I mean, I don't know how much higher they could go, but I wouldn't expect like a massive boost that we got with Forsaken when that dropped.
Yeah, I could see them doing a 650. I could maybe even see them going 700. With this.
That's a good question. But I have another question here. Voax Insanity. He was here last week. I said, what's up, guys? Do you think there will be any more Triple Valor for Crucible before November 27th? Isn't that this weekend? Or was that was last weekend?
Double Valor is going on right now. Yeah, I think the Triple Valor was the last week or the week before. Double Valor is going on right now. The fact that they didn't mention it in here, I suppose next week, maybe that's one of the little nuggets they'll give us. The fact that they'll give us another chance to earn more Valor in the Crucible. But I actually think it's a good possibility that next week they announce something in regards to Valor as well.
Because they did that when before Forsaken dropped, when the Triumphs was coming to a close, they threw out one more out there for the people that might have been close or trying to make a last minute rush. So there's nothing announced right now in Sanity, but based on the past of what they've done before, I wouldn't be surprised if they take this Double Valor that's gone this weekend and maybe run in another Triple Valor at some point next week.
Yeah, I think both of those are pretty safe bets, Brent. I think that we'll have some type of extra XP for Valor. We'll have some type of a light level raised, and we already know we're getting the extra infamy as well. So it's gonna be an exciting end of the season here.
Oh yeah.
Any other comments or concerns, questions coming through the chat there?
No, man, it was bumping today, man. Jacob had everyone talking. They had a good conversation going about Destiny 2 and, whether or not the fans will ever come back in droves like they did. But that remains to be seen, and that's what Activision's talking about. They have to find a way to bring everybody back, not just the hardcore that stuck around. They want to get the hardcore that maybe didn't come back, or like they said, are waiting, sitting on the fence, waiting to see what these big changes, not just Forsaken, but they want to see what the Forge is going to be about. And they want to see everything after that. So there is still a big group of hardcore that hasn't come back yet, and that's what the focus is on right now. They're going to try to find a way to bring those back in.
Yeah, which is interesting because by and large, it seems like many of them have come back to the game with Warmind and with Forsaken, but there's still, like you said, a sect of them out there that maybe have not returned. And I think with the game being given away on PC, with the fact that with Forsaken you can buy it once and have access to the entire, you have all the expansions and everything you need to play the game at that point, I think was a good move. Probably should have been the move from the get-go, honestly. So like it's in a good place where people can just hop right into it right now. So yeah, just with some with a sustained focus on the quality of the game, word of mouth will continue to get around. People will eventually come around if they haven't yet, and I think they'll probably get some new people coming along as well. Brent, why don't you give a quick shout out to everybody we had in the chat there today?
Insanity just showed up late, but he made it in. TFX God, Badass Lord Tipsy, Jacob was in there tonight. So the usual suspects. We really appreciate you guys being here live. A lot of you folks watch it either the next day or throughout the week. So, but the people that are here live, we always appreciate you guys in the chat. You always bring good energy. You bring good conversation, good questions. So you guys are the reason we do this show. We love talking Destiny 2. We love getting your insight on this. So thank you again for showing up. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Brent, anything else you'd like to get out in the universe here?
No, man. I feel like this was a good chat, as usual.
Definitely. So that is going to wrap up this week's episode of Tower Talk. You can follow us on Twitter at The Short Pause. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell so you always know when we go live. We appreciate that. If you're watching the video on demand, definitely leave a comment down there. We love to hear from you guys outside of the live recording of the show as well. So leave your comments, questions, concerns. Those are always welcome. Once again, there will be no Tower Talk next week because it'll be a holiday week and there probably won't be any news to talk about. But the following week, my gosh, we're going to have a lot of stuff to discuss. So make sure you're here 2 weeks from now for the next episode of Tower Talk. We might have to do one earlier in the week, maybe on Tuesday once that Vidoc drops. So we'll keep you guys posted. But sometime during that week, we're gonna have an epic episode of Tower Talk. So be on the lookout for that. For Brent, I'm Ben. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Adios.
See you guys.